Wake up, Wichita. If your alarm clock didn't do the job, don't worry, I've got you covered. I'm Kayla G, and this is your new favorite way to start the day. We're mixing in a little bit of everything, what's trending, what's happening around town, and just enough chaos to keep things interesting. From can't miss events to conversations you'll actually want to be a part of. This week, we've got this.
They start with the action as quick as possible, and then they just stay in action as much as possible with very little character development or story. But this story that Derek Kolstad told me about a small town in the Midwest, and they have money and there's no obvious reason why, and then it all explodes and we learn their secret.
Help me understand my lab tests. I got a cholesterol result shows my LDL is 124. Well, what does that really mean for me? Or somebody who wakes up with a swollen red toe and doesn't know what it is, they can show the toe to the camera and Health AI can help them understand what that might be caused by. They might ask, I want to start an antidepressant, but I want to try something new and I want it to be safe with the other medications that I'm taking. What should I be considering?
The baby boomers have been building up their small businesses for decades. They've been putting in the blood, sweat, tears in order to serve their local communities. They have great products. They have, customer service where they actually know your name, and they have the ties to the communities, but they're nearing retirement age.
Those legal costs don't stay in the courtroom. They're trickling down through the economy because that is the cost of doing business. So if a business's costs rise, they charge more for whatever goods and services they provide. It's something that we all pay. It's kind of a surcharge almost on the cost of living.
I couldn't tell my mom. My dad had just passed away, and I moved her in with me to sell her home and to help her have a fresh start and, closer to family. But, navigating that situation and learning all about squatters is what I needed to do to just be the good son.
All that and more. So grab your coffee, pretend you're a morning person, and let's wake up, Wichita.
It's not every day you see daughters planning their mom's wedding, but that is exactly what this new series is all about. Mom the Bride flips the script to follow women helping their moms celebrate love later in life, from dress fittings to the big day itself. Erin Cahill hosts the series on Hallmark Plus, and she's joining us now. Erin, it's great to see you. How are you?
Hi, it's great to see you, Dan. Thanks for having me.
All right, this idea really flips the traditional mother of the bride role, but what stood out to you in this concept?
Oh, well, what you just said, it's really flipping the script on weddings. We're used to seeing, it's right there in the intro. We're used to seeing moms plan their daughters' weddings, but to see the daughters have the opportunity to do this for their mothers is honestly one of the sweetest things I've ever experienced in my life.
And each episode, it follows a different family. What kind of stories or moments can viewers expect to see?
Well, so it's 6 real mothers and daughters, 6 real weddings. And what you can expect to see is everything you would anticipate with a wedding. The excitement, the stress, but also like inspiration and joy. And you can expect surprises in every episode. We really set our mind to surprising the brides and the families. And it is such a joy-filled ride, and it's all the emotions. That's the other thing you can expect. You can expect happiness, tears, laughter, and being really touched.
And you mentioned there's a lot of emotion packed into this. What surprised you the most while working with these moms and daughters?
I was pleasantly surprised at how much it meant to everybody. I knew, in my heart that would be the case, but to see these daughters just want to get it so right for their moms, and then to see the moms letting go of the steering wheel, and saying, okay, yes, take care of me for once, thank you, was just so special. It's such an honor and a joy to be part of this with them. Oh, I will never forget it. I'll never stop being grateful. I'm not over it. We were filming for 6 months and I'm not over it.
And you've been part of so many Hallmark projects. How does hosting a series like this compare to acting in one?
Oh, I've never experienced anything like this in my life. I've never done anything, unscripted in this way. And so to get to, to go to work every day. I say work because it was such a joy, but to get to go to work and be part of this. I got to go to cake tastings and dress fittings and go to pick out venues and it was such a blast. It didn't feel like work. It just truly felt like a gift. And I fell in love with each one of these families so purely. So by the time the weddings came around, I was like,
And the show really celebrates love a little later in life and
Yes.
family connection. What do you hope people take away after watching?
oh, I love that. I hope that people feel inspired by what you just said, that connection, that family bond. I hope people feel, mothers and daughters for sure. Of course, I hope you get related back to your own love and you're like, oh, you want to call your mom and say, I love you. Or, mothers call their daughters and say, I love you. But really it's about the whole family. I hope that people just feel so inspired about love and connection and family and celebrating that.
Erin Cahill, I really want to thank you for joining us today. Mom's the Bride is now streaming on Hallmark Plus, so you can watch the full series pretty much any time you feel. All right, Erin, I want to thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Dan.
Most people think it could never happen to them until somebody suddenly takes over a property and the legal process turns into a total nightmare. A&E's series Squatters follows Flash Shelton and his team as they help homeowners reclaim their homes in some pretty tense and emotional situations. Flash pretty much first got in this world after dealing with some squatters in his own family home, and now he's helping people across the country. Welcome to the show, Flash. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing well. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Okay, your story started when squatters took over your mom's home. What was that experience like for your whole family?
I kept it from my family actually, until later, but I couldn't tell my mom. My dad had just passed away, and I moved her in with me to sell her home and to help her have a fresh start and, closer to family. But, navigating that situation and learning all about squatters is what I needed to do to just be the good son. And so, my family, I couldn't tell my mom. She was still distraught over my dad. I just told her that I needed a lease so I could go up and be on the property to do some repairs. And, it was successful. I learned a lot about squatters and I out-squatted them. I figured if they could take a house, I could take a house.
And now that the show is out, what kind of reaction have you been getting from some of the viewers?
Everyone's excited. And, I think that the fact that the awareness is, it's teaching people what a squatter is and that they are normal people. They are just entitled and figured, that there's a flaw in the system. They should be able to take advantage of it. I think, people truly understanding that squatters are not homeless people. So squatters and a homeless in a housing crisis have nothing to do with each other.
And some of these situations on the series tend to be really intense. Was there one case in the season that surprised even you?
Yeah, I had a case where, there's several people and, I'm always hearing that, they're drug dealers or they're, committing crimes on the property or something. And, a lot of times it's, I have to look into it and I don't find any evidence of that. But in other cases, we just have to go in extremely careful. I don't want anyone to get hurt, including a squatter. So I think that the fact that, it's just, there are different types of cases every single day and different stories. So at this point, it's like, I don't know that anything surprises me.
And what do most people misunderstand about the squatting laws and how difficult these situations can become for homeowners?
I think that there is a misconception about squatter laws and tenant laws. Tenant laws in a lot of states were written under the, guides that a homeowner is rich and a tenant is poor. But anyone who owns a home knows that just because you own a mortgage doesn't make you rich. And tenants are not all poor. Some people just choose to rent. So, it's I think that there's a misconception about the laws themselves and the fact that there is no line between a squatter and a tenant. So squatters are assuming tenant rights.
And after helping in more than 100 cases, what advice would you give homeowners to help protect themselves before something like this happens to them?
documentation, like being able to document when an intruder enters and how they enter. In today's day and age, there is no excuse not to have a camera that you can monitor from your phone anywhere in the world. When somebody walks up your driveway, you get alerted. When somebody goes into your mailbox, you get alerted. If you can monitor when they enter, they are now arrested as a trespasser and they will never become your squatter.
Flash Shelton, I really want to thank you for joining me today. You can catch episodes of Squatters now on A&E with streaming available on the A&E app and at ANETV.com. Flash, thanks for joining me again today.
All right, thanks for having me.
Now, everybody's talking about how expensive everything feels right now, but there's another factor some experts say is adding pressure behind the scenes: legal system abuse. Lynn McChristain joins us now to explain how that could be impacting families and businesses every day. It's great to see you.
I'm great. Thank you for having me.
So, Lynn, why is legal system abuse becoming such a big contributor to rising costs for everyday Americans?
Well, for one thing, we're a litigious society. This is no surprise, but the fact is those legal costs don't stay in the courtroom. They're trickling down through the economy because that is the cost of doing business. So if a business's costs rise, they charge more for whatever goods and services they provide. It's something that we all pay. It's kind of a surcharge almost on the cost of living. And in some states, it's adding almost nearly $6,000 to the family household budget each and every year. What it's adding is this lawsuit abuse. It's also adding a great deal of uncertainty, and uncertainty could be expensive because a business doesn't know how to manage those future costs with this lawsuit abuse.
So how do those lawsuit costs actually trickle down into things people notice every month, like groceries, housings, and insurance bills?
Great question. Here's the thing is if a grocery store has to pay more for liability insurance, if it has to pay more for transportation to truck in its products, those costs are passed on to consumers. That's the way business works. If a construction company is worried about liability, they buy more insurance to, worry more about these expenses. And that is something that we all wind up paying for because that is the charge of delivering those services.
If there were a few common sense reforms that could really help consumers, what would they be?
Well, the best thing would be to do some reform to bring transparency and fairness to the legal system, specifically something called third-party litigation funding. Most people aren't even aware that investors are bankrolling lawsuits. They haven't been harmed, but they're bankrolling a lawsuit, and they have undue influence on that lawsuit, leading to increased jury awards, which again is trickling down to the cost we paid. Bringing transparency to that, so judges and juries know who's bankrolling a lawsuit, would go a long way to balancing things out.
A lot of great advice. Lynn, can you go ahead and let people know where they need to go for more information, please?
A great resource is the American Property Casualty Insurers Association. Their website is apci.org.
Lynn McChristain, thank you so much for joining us this morning. You have a good day.
My pleasure. Thank you for the opportunity.
There's a big shift happening with small businesses right now, and it could open the door for a whole new group of owners. A lot of longtime owners are getting ready to retire, but not as many people are stepping in to take over. Adam Klappholz is here, head of product at Zelle, to walk us through it. Welcome, Adam. How are you?
I'm great. It's great to be here.
So what does this really mean for local businesses, and why aren't younger buyers stepping in?
Yeah, so this is really a national demographic trend. So the baby boomers have been building up their small businesses for decades. They've been putting in the blood, sweat, tears in order to serve their local communities. They have great products. They have customer service where they actually know your name, and they have the ties to the communities. But they're nearing retirement age, and they're beginning to think about how they can secure their retirement and some security for their family as well. So what we currently have is about 3 million small businesses that need to change owners in the next couple of years. This is called the silver tsunami. The generations that will buy these small businesses are the millennials and the Gen Zs. Wells Fargo actually recently did a survey where They interviewed these segments, and 60 to 70% of those age groups actually do want to own an SMB. So there is a lot of interest out there. Now it's just about instilling the confidence in these younger generations that they can actually run these businesses. And our hypothesis is that through modernizing the tech, modernizing the payments of these small businesses, we can get them comfortable with buying them from the boomers.
And if someone's thought about owning a business, why is now a good time to consider buying from a retiring owner?
Yeah, and this is really just such a rare opportunity because instead of just buying a faceless, nameless business that's, accumulation of cash flows, you're really buying a part of the community. You're buying the social ties, you're buying the know-how. You're buying an institution that really understands the emotions, the hopes and the anxieties of a community. And those are really the unique assets that you're purchasing. When you combine that with the kind of appetite to revamp processes and realize efficiencies on the back end, whether it's payments or e-commerce, whatever it may be, it's a really great opportunity to grow the business while preserving what made the business so popular in the first place, which was serving the community in a heartfelt and great way.
And what's holding these deals back? What are the biggest challenges?
Yeah, I don't think there's one structural issue holding these deals back. The baby boomers are certainly looking to sell, and we've seen that there's a ton of appetite from the younger generations to buy. What we also have seen, though, is that 2/3 of respondents would be deterred from buying a small business if that small business had antiquated payments technology and things like that. So I do think that in order to sell these small businesses, the new owners, they want a turnkey business. They want to be able to step in and be confident that they can run the business from day one. And there's a couple aspects of that. Simplifying the narrative around the small business so they can explain what it is and how the revenues are derived is important. The seller giving tips to the new business owner is also important, but also modernizing the technology, reevaluating the digital strategy, reevaluating the e-commerce strategy, and then payments. So if you are, selling apple pies at the farmer's market, and you're taking cash and checks, a Gen Z or millennial is probably not going to want to spend their Saturday morning going to the bank to deposit the cash or checks. You have to think about a product like Zelle, which allows you to get paid within minutes into your bank account. And it's already available in 2,300 bank apps across 160 million accounts in the United States. So it actually has great ubiquity and your buyers are going to love using it.
And I know you just mentioned that the younger buyers aren't really looking for those checks, but what else are younger buyers looking for that some businesses don't have yet?
Yeah, what the businesses do have is the unique connections to the communities and the differentiated products. But it's really the simplifying and modernizing the companies that they might not have. The owners have probably been in place for decades. They're probably not up to speed on the latest, accounting software, inventory software, e-commerce platforms, or digital marketing tools. All of those areas should be evaluated as potential growth vectors that won't dilute the brand or harm the reputation or legacy of the company. Once again, payments are going to play a large role here. If you can make payments simple, if you can make payments easy, if you can move away from writing checks and bringing cash, use something like Zelle where the funds leave your account in real time and they're deposited within minutes, you're going to delight your customers, you're going to make it easier to run the business, and you're going to get a ton of time back that you can use to further serve your clients.
And if you do take over a long-running business, how do you update it without losing what people love about it?
Yeah, and that's the biggest risk here. Don't take over a business and think that you can suddenly change the apple pie recipe, because you know what? That apple pie recipe has evolved over the decades, and it is probably pretty perfect for the community's taste buds. So anything that's going to be consumer-facing, be highly skeptical of changing, whether it's a recipe, whether it's a brand, whether it's a logo, whether it's a customer service channel. But I do think it's safe to update these back-end processes, the e-commerce platform, the digital distribution channel, and the payments in order to ensure that it is running as efficiently as possible and giving you, the owner, as much time as possible to delight your customers.
And where can our viewers go to learn more?
Yeah, to learn more, you can contact your credit union or your bank to learn more about Zelle. You can also go to Zelle.com/business to learn more directly from us.
Adam Klappholz, I want to thank you so much for being on the show this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Trying to deal with the healthcare system can feel like a full-time job. Between long waits, confusing information, and endless forms, it's a lot. Now, Amazon is rolling out a new health AI designed to make that process easier and more personal. Joining us now is Dr. Andrew Diamond with Amazon One Medical. Good to see you today.
Thanks so much. Great to see you too, Kayla. Thank you.
So, Dr. Diamond, what exactly is Amazon Health AI?
Well, Health AI is our brand new digital health assistant. It's an agentic AI that's private, it's safe, it's secure, and it's available for free on Amazon.com and in the Amazon app. It was co-developed by Amazon and the clinicians of One Medical, which is America's leading primary care medical practice, and it exists to help you get quick, reliable, trustworthy answers day or night to your most common or most complicated healthcare questions. You can get personalized advice and recommendations. You can spot important trends and patterns in your healthcare, and you can even get treatment for your most urgent conditions thanks to Health AI's integration with One Medical and with Amazon Pharmacy.
And how does it actually create a more personalized experience for someone using it?
Well, like interactions with your physician, Health AI is going to do a better job the more it knows about you. So when you sign up for Health AI, One Medical gives you the opportunity to give us consent to access your health history through what are called health information exchanges. If you give that consent, Health AI will start pulling in your health history within minutes, so it can use that as context when answering your questions.
And what are some real life questions people can ask it?
Well, the sky's the limit, but the kinds of questions that I am really excited to see people asking are things like, help me understand my lab tests. I got a cholesterol result shows my LDL is 124. Well, what does that really mean for me? Or somebody who wakes up with a swollen red toe and doesn't know what it is, they can show the toe to the camera and Health AI can help them understand what that might be caused by. They might ask, I want to start an antidepressant, but I want to try something new and I want it to be safe with the other medications that I'm taking. What should I be considering? Health AI can answer those kinds of questions because it knows the full background picture. And it can also just help you get your prescriptions renewed or help connect you in real time to a clinician who can help follow up on a particular symptom that might be beyond what Health AI can formally diagnose.
A lot of people worry about privacy. How is their health information kept safe and secure?
Super important. So customers' privacy is always important at Amazon. It is essential in healthcare. And One Medical has always been a leader in maintaining the privacy and security of our patients' health information. So all of the interactions that you have with Health AI are going to be happening in a secure, what we call HIPAA-protected environment that's subject to rigorous security testing, best-in-class encryption and access controls. And that protected health information that you put in or that comes in from your health records is only going to be used to help take care of you. It's not going to be sold to third parties. It's not going to be used for marketing on the Amazon store or in any Amazon ads.
And do you need to be a One Medical member or a Prime member to use it?
You don't. This is available for free to everyone in the US on Amazon.com or in the Amazon app. However, I should point out that if you are a Prime member, you get an extra special free introductory offer where you can come into the system through Health AI. And if you have any of about 35 common health conditions like urinary tract infection or hair loss or erectile dysfunction, or you're interested in anti-aging skincare or the like, for those conditions, you might need a diagnosis confirmed and a medication prescribed. And that can happen through what we call direct message care with a human One Medical clinician, powered by Health AI. So if you're a Prime member, you get to do that up to 5 times entirely for free. So really end-to-end healthcare for Prime members, completely for free. We're really excited about this. But of course, the Health AI just offering personalized health advice, that's available to everyone, regardless of One Medical or Prime membership status.
And where can people go to find more information?
Just go to health.amazon, or you can find Health AI in the Amazon app under medical care, or you can go to the One Medical app if you're already a One Medical patient, and you can find it on the homepage of that app.
Dr. Andrew Diamond, I want to thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thanks so much for having me on, Kayla. Really appreciate it.
A quiet little town, a substitute sheriff, and a bank robbery that turns into something way bigger than anybody expected. That's the setup for Normal, the new neo-Western thriller starring Bob Odenkirk. He joins us to talk about playing Sheriff Ulysses, working with director Ben Wheatley, and why this story keeps taking turns you don't see coming. Welcome to the show, Bob. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. Good to see you.
All right. What grabbed you first about Normal? Was it the character, the mystery, or just
it was exactly that. It was the mystery. A lot of action films, they start with the action as quick as possible, and then they just stay in action as much as possible with very little character development or story. But this story that Derek Kolstad told me about a small town in the Midwest, and they have money, and there's no obvious reason why. And then it all explodes, and we learn their secret. I love this story. I love the mystery sequence, which is the first 35 minutes. And then, of course, it's pure action for the rest of the film. I just like the story, the character development, the way in which it's kind of like 3 or 4 films in one. And so I said, let's do that one. Let's try to make that happen. We were very lucky to get Ben Wheatley, a great director who's made many films, Free Fire, High Rise, Kill List, a lot of action films, but he always has character in all of his films, a lot of people that you can relate to. And so he was the perfect man for the job.
And Sheriff Ulysses, it feels like somebody's just trying to keep it together while everybody around him is kind of unraveling. What did you enjoy most about playing that character?
Well, I like playing a guy who's my age. Now that doesn't sound like much to you, but I was Saul Goodman for, you know, essentially 8 or 9 years. And Saul was younger than me by a lot. He was 10, 15 years younger than me. And I like playing Ulysses in the movie Normal because Ulysses has seen a lot of life and he's a little bit worn down by it. And I related to the guy. I liked him. And I liked his sense of humor. He had a smile. Things made him laugh. And so, yeah, I like playing the character.
And this movie has this grounded small town feel, but there's a lot of tension that's just like bubbling underneath the surface.
Yeah.
What was it like building that tone with Ben Wheatley?
That's the part that I worked on the most. And it's one of the reasons I get a story by credit on this film is because I helped build out the story of that small town. Normal is the actual name of a town, Normal, Illinois. And the movie was originally called The Interim, as in interim sheriff, part-time sheriff, or, you know, fill-in sheriff. And I said, let's call it Normal, because that's the kind of town, and Derek knew what I was talking about because he's from Wisconsin. That's the kind of town in the Midwest that we want to describe. These small towns they've been hit pretty hard by the economy in the last 40 years. They lost their factory. They have factory farms that have taken over the smaller farms. And I wanted to tell the story of one of those towns that's somehow chanced upon this money.
And once the audience settle into this story, it kind of starts escalating in a lot of unexpected ways. What are you most excited for people to experience when they start to watch it?
Well, it's really a fun movie to watch with a group. If you're going to rent Normal, have some people over, have some friends over. The way in which the story shifts, as you point out, it changes. It's like tectonic plates shifting. The whole vision of what you're looking at becomes a different world. And all those moments where what happens to Henry Winkler and what happens with the champagne cork and what happens after that, those things get the audience going. Those are things to experience with a group. It's been a great fun film to watch with other people.
All right, I really enjoyed the movie. It was such a blast. I had a fun time with that. Normal is available now on all digital platforms. It will be available anywhere you rent movies. Bob, I want to thank you for joining me today, my friend.
Yeah, man, good to be here. Thanks.
All right, Wichita, that's going to be our show for today. If you're heading out the door, we hope you take a little bit of this good energy with you. And if you're staying in, no judgment, so am I. Thanks for waking up with us. We'll be right back here next time with some more fun, more local, and probably a little more chaos. Have a great day, Wichita.